Thank you, JR and Lauren and Victor and my wife. And it's really great to see Fat Joe in the audience, or at least he just left the audience. But I think not only is he going to get even more wealthy, but what I see as a doctor is that hopefully he will get healthier. And I think health really is wealth, and I hope none of you ever forget that very important point. And the other important point is that just because you feel well, it doesn't mean you really are well. You really were not well a week before your heart attack or 2 weeks before somebody tells you have diabetes. You really have to take a proactive role. You need to be active, and you have to be your own advocate for health and wellness, okay? And I think that that's a primary principle. I'm very proud of the fact that I've just been named the Director of Men's Health for NYU, and we've opened up a brand new facility on 55th and Madison, and it's a secret. We actually take care of women as well, and all of you are welcome to come to our facility. But I think the primary reason for my visit here and my annual visit here is obviously to share some of my thoughts about wellness. And all of you are very, very fortunate to have such wonderful products that have been designed, the probiotics, the natural products that can really improve the quality of people's lives. And one of your principal products is your isotonic solution. And the reason it's really your foundational piece. Because it's not just about one condition, whether it's reducing the likelihood of developing heart disease or arthritis or improving pain. It's basically to try to be an antidote for the toxic environment that we live in, all right? And we're exposed every day to stress and foods that are really not foods. I don't know what they really are. But you have to start to think of yourselves, as requiring some insulation from this very, very dangerous environment. And isotonics, I think, is a very, very good start. It is unique, it is versatile, it's unique in its preparation in the sense that it is formulated in a way that will be biologically more available to you. That is, you can actually absorb. I mean, for example, if you had a piece of steak, unless you were able to break down the steak into amino acids and then get absorbed into your system, it wouldn't exactly be very effective. Well, isotonics has actually made it easier for you. It's been created in a solution form so that it will get rapidly absorbed, and there is evidence that that's true because you can measure the effect of OPC3 on different variables in your blood to validate what I just said. So the answer is that it really is true. If you compare, for example, taking the isotonic solution and compare it to an equivalent, let's say, pill, you'll see that it is handled by the body differently. The solution will facilitate its transport into the intestines and then through absorption, whereas a pill just requires more time, more breakdown, and sometimes you actually reduce the potency of the product because in the process of digestion, you actually reduce some of the therapeutic effect of the pill. So the Isotonics PC really is a fantastic product. Plus, one of its main ingredients is an ingredient called pycnogenol, which now most of us actually know how to pronounce, and it comes from the French maritime bark, and it's replenished, so it's very eco-friendly. And it contains a myriad of very important substances that have been studied. And I think that that's the beauty also of your OPC3 product, that there is evidence that the product does what it says it's supposed to do. Now, please understand that in medicine, it's very, very hard to prove anything. And what we really look for is enough evidence. Well, look at the evidence here. 40 years of research, 135 clinical trials. Every single year, Victor Ferrari sends to me several new clinical trials that have been undertaken by Horphag around the world, some in Europe, some in Asia, some in the United States. And I think it's their quest to constantly validate what they do. And it definitely stands out, as you can see, among the crowd, and I think that's what pycnogenol is all about, and that's what OPC is about. You want to be different. You want to be the best in class, and that's what you guys have. So let's talk just for a few minutes. It is the Olympics right now, and fitness is very important. But I think it's important for you to realize that fitness is really not just for athletes. Fitness is not just about some sport-specific, efficiency. It's really about life. It's about walking up the stairs. It's about going out with your family. It's about carrying your grandson. It's about having sex. You need to have a certain level of physical and mental fitness. So it is interesting that the Horvath group undertook a study to determine whether in not professional Olympic athletes, or they did study athletes as well, in the average person given a special test. And there are a whole host of different ways of evaluating and assessing fitness. Well, the Army makes the soldiers go through it. In other words, how fast they can run, can they swim, how many push-ups they can do, and that's a special Army evaluation. Well, they adopted that evaluation and subjected different groups given either control, training, and or a pycnogenal combination. And what they discovered was that the group that actually went through all the training like everybody else somehow had an improvement in their performance. That's a performance-enhancing drug that's actually legal, and I would suggest it to all of you. But besides the improvement in efficiency and enhancement of your fitness, it actually resulted also in reduced soreness, reduced inflammation, so that you could continue to exercise. And I think that what many of us who exercise on a regular basis find is that we're limited by the recovery. And recovery is as important as your fitness program to begin with. You don't want to overtrain because then you will be sore. Well, pycnogenol may actually reduce some of the soreness as a result of the fact that it's anti-inflammatory, right? And it actually reduces some of the edema, some of the vascular permeability of certain toxins. So once again, improves your fitness and improves your recovery. That's a pretty simple idea, right? How about the common cold? Obviously, the single most common reason why people go to the doctor around the world, okay? And I just hope that your doctor is very judicious about his or her use of antibiotics because it just doesn't help. And if anything, it's very likely to hurt. That's not to say if you have high fever and you have sinusitis and everything's green and yellow that's coming out of every orifice of your body, you certainly probably should be on an antibiotic. But the overwhelming majority of people are better off not taking an antibiotic. So what are you going to do? It is really annoying. I mean, we're talking about a lot of money spent and a lot of labor loss and a lot of discomfort. I mean, just imagine you got sick on a Wednesday and now you have a big event on a Saturday or Sunday. You'd like to be able to shorten the duration of your illness even by 1 day. Well, guess what? I have a little trick for you. The pycnogenol people had a study on the common cold, all right? So everybody knows what the symptoms are: pain, fever, and achings, and running nose, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And what they actually found was that if they just gave you pycnogenol alone, it actually reduced some of the symptoms, the severity, and the duration. If you added something that you all know about, vitamin C, okay, it reduced it even more. If you added zinc, which many of us already know may play a role in reducing the severity of a cold, it even helped even more. Well, guess what? You have an OPC3, you got a pycnogenol, now you add a little vitamin C, which is probably in it, and add a little zinc. How about if you reduce it? Now you can actually have a nice time on that Saturday. So the reality is you do now have a potential solution for the most common illness that affects all of humans around the world. There are about 200 to 300 different viruses, by the way, that cause a common cold. And I don't want you to confuse the common cold with influenza. Influenza kills 20,000 people every year. The common cold does not, all right? And so, as I said, less days off, less days not being able to go to school, less days in which you're going to transmit this to everybody else in your family. Well, guess what? There are a lot of studies on the efficacy and the indications for pycnogenol. And as I said, for fitness, for the common cold, how about for the women who unfortunately have endometriosis? This is an inflammatory condition which they have a lot of pelvic pain. And because we knew that pycnogenol actually reduces inflammation, it was not unreasonable to consider it in the management of this condition. And sure enough, when you did the studies, people, the patients, the females, actually felt better, had less pain and less discomfort, and was able to enjoy a certain quality of life. So it's not just about saving lives, it's about improving the quality of lives. And I think that's the magic of your product. And with that, I'd just like to remind you, health is wealth. You guys had a great product. It was very motivating to hear Fat Joe. I hope he comes to visit me at the new center, and I invite all of you as well. Have a very nice day.